Hi everyone, I have been asked if I can show how to colour one of Jellyfish from Lost Ocean by Johanna Basford, one of Johanna's quite early books. Now, I have done a video on Jellyfish already. There was a jellyfish in one of the planners which I did, but that was quite a long time ago, so I thought I would have a go at this page as well. Now we're going to do it in stages. I'm going to deal with just one jellyfish. I'm having a look, I can't decide which one. Maybe one near the middle might be easier for me to film, so I shall just do this one, I think. I come in a little bit closer for you. Now I am going to do all the jellyfish in the same colour because I like that idea of them all matching. You don't have to do them all the same colour. It's up to you. Now I'm going to use Prismacolor. I'm starting with this one, which is the light aqua, and I'm going to colour the whole jellyfish with this while I talk. So I'm just going to start. Now we can see there's a lot of detail in these jellyfish, see-through bits and non-see-through bits and little sort of swirls and things like that, and it can make it feel a little bit daunting. But by starting like this, you will have quite a good bit coloured without even worrying about any of that, so that's quite good. Now I'm just going to do these thin bits while I've got a nice sharp point on my pencil, because of course the thing with Prisma is that they do go blunt quite quickly. There we go. Now I've been looking at pictures of jellyfish, and this sort of colour, there were quite a few this sort of colour, which is why sort of partly why I picked it, as well as the fact that I really like it. And so yes, that's quite good. But they're all slightly see-through, aren't they? Hence the name, I guess. So that makes them a little bit daunting. But there are methods that I've tried in the past to make things look a little bit more see-through. I'm just going to take off my cardigan. I've just drunk a cup of coffee and I've got a hot flush. Sorry. Whew. Oh. So yes, making them look see-through. There are different ways of doing it. I've got a method that I'm going to try and see and hope that it works. And so we'll just try it. Sorry, the page is a bit dark. It's really dismal weather today. It's never perfect, is it? It's either too sunny and bright so I get shadows and then I have to shut the blind, or it's just cloudy and grey and dark. I've got the lamp on, but it's just not really, it doesn't matter though. I'm not doing anything too difficult or that really needs an accurate colour. So we're just colouring this in. Now I've chosen Prismas for several reasons. Firstly, you can colour a large area quite quickly, which is quite good for the purposes of this video. But also they work very well at the later technique that I'm going to do, which is trying to make them look a bit more transparent, because I'm going to need white, and the Prismacolor white is very good for this. There are other whites that work. You don't have to necessarily use a base of Prisma to do this, but I just thought I'd keep it with the same brand because I think it's a bit easier to sort of follow. So you can use any pencil brand for this bit, but when you come to making it look more see-through, which we'll be doing in a bit, you're going to want a brand that has a really good white. We're going to use a white pencil. We need a really good white pencil now. I will name a few brands that I know have good white pencils. Caran d'Ache, their Luminance range, very good white pencil. The Derwent Drawing Chinese White is apparently the best white pencil, though I find the Prismacolor white very good. Which is a lot cheaper. What else has a good white pencil? You want something soft, basically, that you can smush. If your layer underneath, like this, is smushable as well, that's going to help you even more. But you just want to sort of form this smushy layer on top. I'm trying to think. I think Derwent Lightfast might be okay at it. The Caran d'Ache Pablos might be reasonable. I haven't tried Artex. They're like Prismacolor copies, so, but they're not quite as soft, are they? They might be okay. That sort of thing. You want a sort of decent smushy white. You don't want a Polychromos, a Staedtler, anything hard like that. It's not going to work for you. As much as I sort of say the Polychromos white is rubbish, it's actually okay, but it's not going to work for this particular exercise. And the Staedtler's far too hard. So there is our base. Now you could just leave it here and not do any more colour, but what I have got is I have grabbed the aquamarine, which is a slightly darker shade, and I'm going to do a little bit of shadowing and darker colours in certain areas. So I'm going to show you how I pick this. I'm going to start actually on the tentacles. I think just where they're popping out here, there'd be a little bit of shadow, so I might just make them a little bit darker here and layer that out just like that. We can do the same for all of them. It's quite simple. If you don't have another shade of colour, you can just layer up the one that you were using already. And you can put in some even darker shadows if you want to use black or grey, but I think we might risk it looking quite messy once we put the white on top, so it's better to stick with just a lightish layer. So under this little skirt, I'm assuming that's what it's called. I've got no idea. Maybe it's a petticoat. But why would you wear a petticoat? You would wear a petticoat under your skirt. So I'm just sort of trying to fade that out a little bit. I don't want just a flat line. Now you could go into these and make them darker. I've done that before. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to keep it a bit simpler because I've got a whole page to do. I'm only going to demonstrate one. I think once I've done this, you should be able to do the others. I will finish the page and show you, but I think it'll be not really necessary to show you every single one. We'll see how it all goes. So in here, look, we're looking at the back, so I'm going to colour all of that bit in a darker shade there, and same here. Like that. Now here, what I'm thinking is going on here is this is inside this. So I'm thinking if I put another layer of colour on that bit, it will look maybe more like it's inside. But I'm not going to use this darker colour. I'm actually going to just put another layer of the light aqua on top. And I think that might just give the impression I want. Layering it up slightly. Yeah, that'll do. That's all I'm going to do. Okay, keeping it really straightforward. So with all the others, it's going to be the same sort of thing. So do one layer of light aqua on everything, and then just do a few little darker areas here and there. If you think it's necessary, you don't have to. And now we're going to use our white. We're going to go over everything with a layer of white. Now this includes the all the black lines. Okay, we're going to go, whoops. Go over the black lines. It's always a good idea to sharpen first and then break it. You see over those black lines to sort of fade everything back a bit and make it look a bit more transparent. It doesn't matter what order you go in. I'm just going to do the tentacles first. I don't know why. That's where I started, wasn't it? I try to cover everything you've coloured if you can. It's important for two reasons. Firstly, because it helps work with the sort of see-through illusion. If you compare these two to these, maybe you can see the difference. I hope so. But also, if you miss a bit, it doesn't sort of smush up so well. This acts almost like a blending pencil as well as fading the colour. so it sort of smushes everything together. It's a lot of people use this as a technique when using Prismas, is using their white as a blender. I don't tend to, because it changes the colour. So when I blend, when I'm blending or even just sort of burnishing, I don't want to change the colour of what I've done. I just want to mix it better or smooth it, so I don't want to use a coloured pencil. I might use a lighter tone of what I've been doing, or I might just use a blending pencil. I'm just going to get my brush, but they're just different techniques, and it's sort of up to you. We've got one left, haven't we? It's up to you how you do it, what works for you, sort of thing. And I'm not really used to using a white for blending anyway, because having not had Prismas as long as polychromos, you can't use the white for blending a polychromo. Polychromos are quite difficult to blend anyway, because they're so much harder, and so I tend to use a Derwent blending pencil for polychromos, and they're quite good. I'm going to do all the tentacles because I think I'm likely to forget if I don't do them all now. Now these circular ones, really, it would be much better to do each circle separately, because if you looked really closely, you would see they're not in the lines by any stretch. But to be honest, life's too short to do that. If you find that relaxing and satisfying, you do it. But for me, it's not. I'd get very, very bored and frustrated, and that is not what the exercise of colouring is all about. So what have I been doing today? Well, it's got past 10 already, my goodness. I did a little reminder across some of my socials about that I've got 20 swatch charts of various brands. I'm going to improve a few of them, because like my Prismacolor one, I would have been improved by the time this video goes out, is actually across 4 pages, and that's because it started off as a chart to tell you which Prismas were available in which sets, which colours, because it can be quite useful, I think, if you're buying a set, to know exactly what you're getting. And then there's a little space where I swatched them so that you could just look at the colours and think, well, I haven't got the budget for a full set, but I like X and Y colour, what sets do they come in, that sort of thing. That's what I was thinking when I did it. But I haven't got one that's just a nice neat swatch chart for all of the colours that are available in the 150 set. So I'm going to just adapt one of my charts a little bit and make that available soon. Well, it will be available now. That's the plan. So I was thinking about that. That wasn't actually what I was working on this morning. I was working on some Derwent swatch charts, because a video has come out now of a rabbit from Landa, Rita Berman's Landa book, and I used Derwent pencils, both light fast, a mixture of light fast, actually colour soft, and drawing, and I did some conversion charts between light fast and drawing and poly and Prisma. I've got one left to do. I thought it might be handy, because I'm sure a lot of people don't have Derwent because they are so expensive, but I just felt like I should use them for some videos, because obviously some of you do have them. Right, there's our next step done. It's a lovely colour. Right, now our next step is to white out all the black. I've got a Posca here. You can use all sorts of white pens. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm taking away all of the white line. Now we've already covered them in white pencil, and if you don't have a white pen, then at least you've got that. They're faded a bit, but I think going over them with this makes a huge difference. But you can decide for yourself. Most of you, I know, have a white pen of some description, and a lot of you, which one would I recommend? Well, For me, this is the Posca. It's good. The Sakura, this is the Posca PC1MR, so it's very fine. I like a finer one. What size is this tip? I'm just looking, 0.7. Now, there's a Sakura set of whites, jelly rolls, which have different size nibs. So you get a 1, a 0.8 and a 0.5, and that's quite good if you want a thicker one. The 1 is rather nice sometimes when you want thicker lines, and then the 0.5 is good when you want a thinner line, although it does tend to block, which isn't surprising because it's such a small nib. The ball blocks with dry paint, but you can unblock it by scribbling on some scrap paper when you're using it, but you know, it just takes a little bit longer to use. So there's that one, and I've also recently got this pen which I brought through. This is a Uniball Signo white pen. This is the broad. I don't know whether that, I'm assuming there might be a fine, I don't know. Husband bought it for me because he bought a set of them with, I think they do a bronze, silver and gold and white, but I'm not entirely sure. So he bought them for me, and I noticed then I was following an old Chris Cheng video, and she was using them, so I thought, well, they must be okay if Chris Cheng's using them. And yeah, they are good. When they're new, they have a really nice flow, but then so do all the other white pens that I use. As they get older, they tend to clog more. I have heard various tips for unclogging. I tend to wipe the tip off with some tissue, you know, some loo roll or kitchen paper or a tissue, whatever you've got, or I just use a bit of scrap normal paper that I find in the bin because I'm tight. I don't want to pay for those other things. I do buy loo roll, by the way, just don't use it for wiping art stuff. Don't want you getting the wrong impression. Yeah, I'm very much a reuser, do you know what I mean? So like the paper behind here, look, I've used it loads of times, but I wouldn't want to, don't like waste. Eventually I'll recycle it and get a new piece. Yeah, and I'm having to do that even more so because my husband's work and negotiating his 3 days a week. It's going to be so good for him, for our relationship, for our family, but we're just going to have to spend less, and he is not good at spending less. It's going to be me that has to spend less and try and earn a bit more. But I'm trying to think of I'm not able to think of very many plans at the moment for earning more, because I've still got the kids home for Easter. I haven't had time on my own. What I need is some sort of silent thinking time, you know. So I will get my thinking cap on. Yeah, the coffee shop worked very well. That's helped to raise my income a little bit, but I think people feel that YouTubers make a lot of money because they watch Mr. Beast and he's obviously like a multi-millionaire, but actually no, this is the most poorly paid job I've ever had, but I love it so much and it's such a pleasure to be able to help people. But yeah, it's not good. So that's why I have the coffee shop, to try and you know, get a little bit more in and that sort of thing, and the affiliate links in the videos too. But I shall have a think. I'm very resourceful, so, and husband is selling a few things from his coffee shop, which is lovely. It's not raising loads, it's not going to pay for his 2 days off, as he's, you know, and he sold a few things, but he is so excited that people want to buy his art, and that's brilliant, and it's encouraging him more to do more of it, which and he loves it when he actually has the focus to do it and it relaxes him. So it's all really good. So there's that. He's actually going to, I think he said he's going to some sort of exhibition in a few weeks' time in a town near here. So he just wants to start doing more things like that with his time, so he has more fun in life rather than always being at work, which is fantastic, I think. So I'm going to leave these two, or else I'm going to smudge them. It's better to work from one side to the other, depending on whether you're left or right-handed. Most of you will be right-handed, so you need to work from left to right. But for those of you that aren't, right to left, and also always top to bottom. I hope you can see that this is now looking more see-through. I hope you think it is. Now when you're applying pen like this, you often will miss bits. Now it's up to you. You can go back and do a second layer once it's dry and improve it, or you can just leave it, and it's up to you. Hey dear, I can hear clunking upstairs. I'm sure it must be the children. I get paranoid hearing all the... I get woken up about 3 times in the night by the rats. It's like, ugh, rats in their roof, yuck. Obviously the poison that's gone down hasn't made any difference. I did find a gap, a hole near the front door, which I'm going to block up, which has a cable. I think it's a phone cable, but I'm not sure. It might be the gas. No, gas wouldn't come through a cable. Derp. You can tell I've had no sleep. Ooh, brain not working. But we'll see. It's pretty horrible. Just thinking of them up there. Ugh. But yeah, I haven't seen one in the garden for a while. So maybe that one's got some a bait in the garden. I know some people think the idea of killing them is really nasty, and yeah, it's tricky. My neighbour said to me, you know, she got someone in to do hers, because you know we live by the river, we just get them, and her granddaughter said to her, you're killing them, and he's just living his life and doing his thing. And it's like, yeah, but not in my house, please. And I was worried that they might somehow find a way into the kitchen, into the food. Ugh, yeah, don't want to think about that. So yes, so that's the reasoning behind it. My sister used to have them in her attic when she lived in the country. Of course, it's just a thing that happens. My husband used to have them growing up in his house, because he also lived in the country, but they had I don't know if they're in the house, but they had animal feed, because they had hens, and of course you're always going to get them into animal feed. We don't have that though. We're not really sure what's attracting them in. We're not feeding the birds. We haven't got any sort of, I mean obviously there's food in the kitchen, but they're not in there, so I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. We'll get it resolved, I'm sure. But it'll be nice to have a full night's sleep without scuttling and scratching and squeaking going on. Ugh. Anyway, luckily my son has gone back to sleeping in his room, and he didn't hear them, so that's good. So he's not so tired. Oh, sun's come out ish, almost, slightly brighter anyway. Now for the second part of this video, once I finish this, I just want to demonstrate one to you. I'm going to go away and finish the others off camera, and I will show you them after, so that you can see where I've chosen to put the darker pencil and things like that, because you know I know that it's not always easy to guess where it should go, I'm sure you're all capable of doing that, but I know some of you need a little bit of confidence help just to sort of do it. And you can see I will show you, so I'll come back on and show you what I've done, and I will do the background, but I have to wait for all the pen to dry before I do the background. So yeah, it'll take me a little while in between, but of course you won't know. So it's taken me a while, but I will get these all done. You can see how long this one is taking, so it's going to take a while to do the whole lot. It's actually rather mesmerizing doing the pen, and I think if you want to learn to draw, this is a great way to learn, because you're tracing over Johanna's lines. It's giving you some muscle memory for when you do your own mark making and lines. So I've always felt that this is good practice for drawing. So there is our first one. As you can see, there's a few missed bits, but to be honest, I'm not too fussy about that. So there he is. So hopefully you can think that he might be slightly see-through-y because of the white, the lack of black, the sort of shading and bits and pieces, you know, and I love the colour, but that's just me. You can, I'm going to do, as I said, all the rest the same colour. The sun's coming in now, of course it is. Even though the window's covered in wet and it's raining, typical UK. So I'm going to do all the rest the same colour, but you can choose 2 of any colour. You know, do pinks and oranges, yellows. There's all sorts of, colours of jellyfish that you can do. So there's no sort of rule. So yes, have fun. In fact, some of them are similar. This end one here. This one is really similar to this one, I've just noticed. And this one is this one. They're the same, aren't they? But that one and that one aren't the same. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So have fun. And yeah, once I've done, I'll be straight back on. So as soon as I, there'll be a jump and you'll be able to see them all coloured in. But don't worry, I won't do the background without you. So you can do the jellyfish. But thank you for now, and I shall be back. Right, I have completed all of the jellyfish. You can't see all of the lighter and darker colour that I've used that easily. I thought I would just come in a little bit more closely, to show you it. So this is the one that I did with you. And then this one, you can see I put a little bit of darker colour underneath this bit, and then under there, and then on the tops of all of these. I haven't done the ring yet, we will do it. And then this one's similarly darker here, and on the tops of these bits. It's not that, doesn't show up that much on that one. This one again, just really the tops of those. That was all I did it on. This one is actually the same as another one, so under here, tops of those bits. And then this one is the same as the first one we did, so I did it in the same way. But now we are going to do the background. Now if you wish, you can just leave it like this. You don't have to do a background at all. However, I'm going to use some soft pastels. I use these, and I'm going to use some to make a sort of water. Now when I chose the colour for these, I used an image that I found on a search engine, and I'm going to continue to base my colours on that image. And the sea was blue. Now these are obviously blue, but they're sort of turquoisey blue, so we're going to use a blue, if that makes any sense. So if we look at my colours before I start, these are more sort of turquoisey shades. I'm going to do some blue from these. It's quite daring, it's quite dark, and obviously we've got some quite small spaces to fill. So what I'm doing is I'm gathering some onto my little pad, and I'm just going to get started here. Now if you're worried about, make sure you've got some paper behind like I have, because it is going to spill off the edge of the page, and if you don't catch it on some paper, it will go along the edges of your other pages in the book and spoil them. So that is my first sort of warning. Now we're going to come quite close to our jellyfish, or right around them, and you know, obviously they're lighter than this colour. I'm going to try not to go over the edges, but because we've used the white pencil, I'm hoping that it will slightly sort of almost repel the pastel, but it may not, so I'm just doing the best I can and hoping, really. Now this is such an easy, simple way to do a background. Now you can see that the jellyfish is sort of slightly disappearing into the background, which isn't ideal. And what you could do is leave a slightly light edge around it, which would make it stand out a little more, and maybe even look like it's glowing. But we'll keep going. See, this is the tricky bit, getting around all these bits. Now, with your layer of white, it will mean that you'll be able to erase some of this colour a little bit if it gets too dark on top of your jellyfish and you don't like it. So there is that option for you. Now the idea is to try and make the water dark enough so that the jellyfish sort of stands out as being lighter. Unfortunately it is blending into these bit a little bit more than I'd hoped, but I'm just going to go with it and see how it turns out. And if you don't like it, don't do it. You know, you've seen the thumbnail, you've seen what it looks like when it's done. You can decide whether you like it or not, or whether you want to try, oh, I'm using the wrong colour there, whether you want to try something a bit different. Now water of course doesn't have to be blue, it can be greeny coloured, but of course we've got this sort of greeny colour on our animals. It can be very pale if you want, you know, or you can just leave it clear. Now down here you might see we've got a little splodge. That is a fingerprint, and it's not blending very nicely. I find when that happens, I don't know if you can see it very well there, is I take an eraser and I just erase that whole bit like that. Just erase it. Then come back to your colour, put it over the top, and you should find that that dark area disappears. I have to put a bit more colour on my sponge. Now you might think, oh gosh, how do I get it even? Why would you want to get it even? We're under the sea. There is not an even colour under the sea, is there? I don't think so. My idea is to try and make it a bit darker in the corners, a little bit lighter around the jellyfish, but I think that might make them fade into the background a bit too much. They might need a bit of darker colour around them. But I'm just going to get some colour down on my page and then sort of plan as I go, really. Now some people do quite amazing effects with water where they do sort of light lines coming through and things like that. I tried that with pencil. It looked a little bit too contrived, really, for my liking. Like, you know, the lines were too straight because I used a ruler, but I wouldn't be able to do it freehand, really. So it wasn't quite for me. But, you know, I've seen some really good ones. So this is quite tricky. I'm just going with it. So I have to keep putting more pastel back on. Now I used to scrape the pastel with a knife onto the paper and then rub it in with a piece of thing like this. Look how much is on here. But I now find this much easier. You get less waste, I think. Or the waste goes into my pastel box rather than all over the table, which is nice. There's not so much mess. I'm good at making a mess. So, yeah, it's quite nice having less mess. And yeah, so it's I find it a better technique, but different people have different techniques. Some people just use their fingers to apply it. Now I think that works actually very well, because although, you know, I was saying, oh, I've got a fingerprint, it's all got fingerprints, you can just work them in with your fingers, but it's so messy. I can get myself in a mess of a mess without sticking my finger in the pastel. Look, I've got it all over my finger already, can you see? So yeah, for me that's too messy. For you, it might work out brilliantly and be great fun. I feel like our jellyfish are fading away, unfortunately. I'm going to have to think of an idea to make them jump back off the page again. But we could put some ripples around them with a white pen. That might help them show up again. I did wonder if this might happen, but it works so well in the photograph that I saw. But I think the sea was darker than I've been able to create. Now this background might feel like it's taking quite a while, but imagine if you're doing it with a pencil, how long it would take. It's the pastels are so quick compared to pencil, I find. They are very, very much faster, and it's quite easy to rectify errors. You just go over the top with another colour, or you just keep working at it until it looks how you want it to look. You know, it's not too tricky. You can use, if you don't have a washable sponge, you can use a normal makeup sponge, but you can also, you know, a disposable one. You can use a Q-tip for that to get into all the details if you want to. I do have some actually, I probably should be doing that. You can probably use the tissue or something like that, yeah, paper hanky, but I'm not sure. I've never tried that. I would probably be more inclined to use fingers than the tissue, but as I say, I'm just too messy. Some people are very neat and tidy with their but I'm going to get some sponges. Apparently they're quite good for applying colour. Particularly I was recommended makeup sponges for applying pan pastels, which obviously we're not using today, just using the regular ones. But I haven't got. I've got a silver pan pastel, which I could use actually a little bit of later. Quite fun putting it on top of our jellyfish, make them slightly iridescent. I've got a sort of pearlescent medium, which might make them shine. But we'll finish this bit first, and it's quite messy, as you can see. I'm just trying to make it reasonably even-ish, so we don't have... Now, to you, it just looks like a big mess, I think. To me, I can pick out our jellyfish still, just seeing how clean my hands are. But yeah, they're quite faded back, aren't they? As I say, I'll get a white pen and put in some... I wonder if they create bubbles. Do they? They must breathe. They must create some sort of bubbles, I would have thought. Trying to think what to do really, because if we put little marks around them, it might imply movement, which would be quite good. So that could be an idea. Now I think in this book if you're doing lots of pastel backgrounds, you're going to get through a lot of blue pastel. It's quite difficult because you can't really make blue. Obviously you can make green from blue and yellow, and orange from red and yellow and things like that, but you can't make blue. It's a primary colour. So if you run out of blue, you probably need a few different ideas. So turquoise is always good. Bluey greens can work. I've got one in my set that I sometimes use for water. Yeah, there's a few different options. You could try grey. Might be a bit different. What else you could use? I'm trying to decide whether to use my pearlescent pan pastel, whether it would be better on the actual jellyfish, which I think it probably would be, or in the background. I think it's better on the jellyfish, but I think we'll get some white pen in the background first. But my arm is aching. It's not taking as long as it took me to colour in all the jellyfish though. That took a really long time. I don't think it wasn't the colouring as much as the white pen. It takes so long. I wonder if I hadn't done the white pen, whether they would have stood out better. So, but they wouldn't have looked so see-through. So it's a difficult one to balance, isn't it? Because obviously the idea of making them see-through means they don't stand out. But then you sort of think, well, I put all that work into them and no one's going to actually see them. We're going to turn the page and go, what's this? But we'll get some white pen in here and get it sorted in a minute. We've got to get this bit done first. I've got to try and make sure I don't put my sleeve down on top of the pastel. I'm wearing a very pale sort of pinky top today, so not ideal. It'll be okay. The good thing with pastel is it washes out, so if you get it on your clothes it's fine. Try not to get it on your carpet. I think it'd be harder to get it out there. Of course it would wash out. Also I wouldn't recommend getting it wet. I think it might be harder to wash out because it would sort of set. I'm thinking of things like lily seeds. There's sort of bright red ones, sort of brownish red, and if you get them on the carpet you can vacuum it out, but as soon as if you try and wet it, yeah. And my mum was saying they'd got some on their carpet they were trying to get out. So she was struggling. I got some in the silicone sealant on the back of my worktop. That was a bit of a nightmare. I managed in the end. I used some Cif cleaner, which is what I've been told to clean stains off my worktop with. Took quite a few applications. In fact, I soaked it for quite a while. I think there's an element of bleach in that Cif cleaner. Now I'm going right over that ring because I know what I'm doing with that, so it's fine. Oh, I've just had a little thought. Another way you could make them shine and stand out a bit more is some stickles. Put some stickles over them. They would look all, it would be very sparkly. No, obviously stickles are glitter. So that might be interesting. It would take a long time. I'm not going to do it. Or a clear glitter pen. That would make them stand out. Yeah. But it's difficult, as I say. The idea is to make them disappear a bit and look see-through, and then we put the water in and they do disappear because they've done what we wanted them to do, which is gone see-through. It's quite funny. But this pastel is going on top of the pencil a bit as well, so that's not helping. It's okay. It's not as bad as I thought it could potentially be. It's resisting it quite well. So you could leave a little zone around each one that was paler, and that would make them look like they were glowing. I might try and do that actually. I know I've already put down my... Right, I'm just going to put some more on in certain places now to make it look a bit neater. Shaking the whole desk. Right, okay, now it looks really messy on camera actually, doesn't it? I suppose if you step back and look at the whole thing, it probably does. You can spend a long time layering up and putting more pastel on and making it look neater. I'm not going to do that. Now I'm going to try, let me think. Yeah, I'm going to use my brightest yellow. Okay. Really bright. I'm going to put it around the edge to create a glow in the water. Oh, that's quite effective. Again, you may struggle to see. And of course it's gone green. I'm happy with that because I knew it would, and it still looks sort of glowy. I think you might be able to see it. This whole page, when I look at it in my camera, just looks like a messy 4-year-old splodgy blue painting, which is a bit of a shame. But my eyes are finding the details. There we go. Oh, I'm much happier now. It's working. Don't have much yellow pastel in this set. There's one bright yellow and one pale yellow, and that's about it. And my pale yellow is nearly all used up. I used to do lots and lots of yellow backgrounds at one time. I've had to change to do other things because of it running out. I was wondering whether I can't really buy single pastels in this size, so I've just got to use other things instead. Now we will soon be done, and I've got a few other ideas of little details to add in. We've got to, as I said before, we've got to do the ring for a start. I'm getting very hot doing this. I don't think it's going to get really hot tomorrow apparently, but I think it's just a hot flush combined with the fact that I had a sip of coffee. One sip of coffee and my body's like, oh, hot flush time. There we go. Yeah. Now, ring. Let's come in closer. I'm just going to put my lid on here. spring here. I'm going to lean on my cloth so I don't get pastel. It's all over my fingers anyway. I'm going to use my Jelly Roll. This is the Sakura Stardust glitter pen, and I'm going to use the silver for the band. I'm going to try and go over all the black outline as well so that it doesn't show up so much, because we haven't got any black outline anywhere else. And this is a sort of turquoisey colour, I think. It's 725 and it's a sort of glittery one. And I'm going to do the stone really glittery like that. That's really going to show up. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a white pen. What have I got? I want a 10. Jelly Roll 10. Here we go. Jelly Roll 10. Ooh, here you go. And I'm going to do a few lines around our jellyfish in the water. I'm going to have to come out a bit. I think we'll do one page at a time. So this is this page. And I'm thinking sort of like this, as if we've got ripples. You don't have to do this, but I think it's going to help to just give the illusion of movement and help them to stand out from that blue a little bit by just adding white like that. And we'll do the same for this one. A little bit over the top, down here. Pen doesn't want to work. The loose pastel clogs the pen. I should have brushed it off before. I've got a bit of a gap down the spine. I'm not going to worry about it. It's very hard to get down in there. My son's chatting very loudly. He seems to be working quite hard, which is good. One of them's doing a test, exam practice sort of thing. There we go. You can do thicker lines if you want. You could potentially use a thicker pen. I don't have a thicker pen. This is my thickest pen. So this one will go down here a bit. Ooh, I went over the top of his tentacle then. That wasn't what I was intending on doing. It's just about going around the edge and maybe a little bit in between, but not on top. But it doesn't matter. I've done it now. You can rub off white pen. I'm just going to scribble to some extent. One was doing an exam and the other one is chatting so loudly. Maybe he hasn't started yet. He said he was going to start on the hour. Maybe he's finished. It was a 45-minute test and it's been 25 minutes, but he's quite quick. There we go. Now if you want to, you can do some bubbles in the water as well, and I've been thinking about that. I think I might do some I do like a circle on a bit of a line. I don't know how easy it is to see. That line should be on the edge like that. It's quite hard when I'm not leaning on the paper. Now you might, I have got a circle stencil which I really should be using, but it's a bit late now. Can do some underneath. I think it's better just to have them on above. But yeah. So there we are. It looks very, very messy. So let's take this away. It doesn't look as messy as the paper that we had around the edges or my hands. But there we are. There is our sort of jellyfish. So if you wanted to make them stand out more, which is the sort of major thing I think that perhaps isn't so good about them, you could go back around the edge with the white pen, because a lot of the white pen that I've drawn on doesn't really show up on the edge. I think I've knocked it off with the pastel. If you go back around the edge like this, it's going to show up much more. I don't know how much it really does show up in the camera anyway, but it takes a lot of work, because it took a lot of work to put all that white pen on, and we've almost knocked it off with the pastel. I mean, maybe it might have been better to have put the pastel on first, then the pen, but of course then you've got all the mess. You could put fixative on, you could have and then done it, but I'm not very keen on the smell of fixative. It makes me feel a bit horrible. So I think actually that is the main problem, the fact that I've sort of knocked off most of the white on the edges with my when I applied the pastel. So if I go back round and put it back in, I think that could make quite a big difference to how much they stand out. So I think I'm going to do that. It will take me a bit of time, but I'm going to do that on my own. It's going to take ages, unfortunately, and I'll rephotograph it so that you can see whether you think it's worth it, because as I say, it's a lot of work. There must be clatter outside. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there while I'm still working away at it. I'm going to need to find something to lean on really, or else I'm going to be filthy. Yeah, so you could, as I say, you could try putting fixative on first. If you use a workable fixative, then you can colour on top of it or pen on top of it, whatever you want to do. So that's quite useful. It sort of helps. Yeah, so that, or you can just lean on a piece of paper, which is what I will be doing, and just really brightening it all up, making it stand out more. You can see what a difference that has made. Huge. So I'm going to do that with all of them, and as I say, come back and take another photo once I'm done. It'll probably take me all day like it did to do the initial ones. I don't know, maybe not, because I'm not doing all of them, but a lot of them. It's just going over the top of the ones that are faded. I think it's making a really worthwhile difference, and actually might make the sort of marks that I did around the edge slightly unnecessary, but we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to stop the video now because it's probably really boring, and I shall put a picture at the end of it with all the white put back in. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that was okay. It was a bit different, and yeah, so yeah, thank you for watching and happy colouring.